Loners Stay Together, an original mystery by Robert Napier. Chapter, 12? Finally, it's time. We walk 4 blocks in silence to a hipster hole-in-the-wall restaurant called Redacted. They serve authentic Indian food made by Asian studies majors and gourmet coffee repackaged from Walmart into mason jars. It's faux decor, but with a kitsch charm. Marty Hobbs flags us down. Raimi doesn't want to go in, and I think that's for the best. She takes a bus to wherever she goes. Me and Marty wander towards the front door. Marty gives my makeover an oh-so-validating smile. I think I look like an overpriced punk. Hobbs isn't as dumb as he looks, and he knows something is up. But now he's really curious to see how it plays out. Plus tits. You don't get in without looking and talking the part, he said. It's like a gentleman's club for grad students. He winks at me. Except there are no gentlemen. The interior corridor is murky and atmospheric, the walls covered with Bollywood posters, string lights, and statuettes. Marty leads the way through the long hall, past rooms where associate professors are holding office hours. Marty nods and waves to half a dozen people on our way through the restaurant, up the stairs and towards a bar. Is everyone here in grad school? They come and go, it's a living. He points out the window at an unassuming square building across the alley. It's a repository. We call that the catacombs. There's files on every psych study known to man in that building. Marty leans close to me and I catch him sniffing the air around me. He couldn't hide confusion at the musky smell of the sweater. But he wasn't turned off by it. They say there's even files on Dr. Voynich in there. Crazy shit. This is suddenly more interesting than the restaurant, and I ask, have you been in there? Nah, there's only 3 keys. Di Young has got one, of course. But you know how she is. So I have to confess that when Marty first asked me about Di Young, I thought he said some Korean name or something, like Di Young or something. Yeah, laugh at me, I don't care anymore. And right now I realize he's saying Di Young, like, leave a good-looking corpse. It took about another 10 minutes for me to realize the woman's name is Diana Young. She's drunk and holding court like a 12th century tsarina. She's in her late 20s, a gothic and loquacious woman with exaggerated mannerisms. In the dim upstairs, she sits at an oblong table surrounded by courtiers. I walk behind Hobbs, and while we get furtive glances, nobody objects or speaks out. Nobody makes any introductions. But for brevity's sake, I'll tell you who's who. Diana is at the head of the table. To her right is her blonde-haired, blue-eyed boyfriend, Lars von Walde. Next to him is Zheng Tso, who despite being Chinese is doing an impressive impersonation of Steve Jobs. To Diana's left is an overdressed teacher's assistant and social media influencer, Devin Levine. Beside her is a sallow but astute associate professor named Gillis Blake. At the far end sits me and Marty. The table is spread with half-eaten appetizers and entrees. Coffee mugs and beer bottles litter the board as if a dozen people have come and gone and the waitstaff just gave up. Diana was delivering a pronouncement. It's more than science. We're opening people's heads up, putting art back into their boring lives. She not too subtly waves her non in my direction. Zheng reiterates a previous point. But they're manufactured. Diana is frustrated that he's just not getting it. We used to have shamans. Now we have pharmacists. Times change. It's time to prop open the doors of perception. Sounds like Project Artichoke all over again, said Blake with a cynical scowl. Diana waved her non dismissively. Research like MK Ultra gave us Ken Kesey, Allen Ginsberg, and the Grateful Dead. Blake shot back, and Charles Manson and Ted Kaczynski. Give me a break. I'm not talking about the CIA, Manchurian Candidate, or Weapon X. I'm talking about all-natural psychedelic psychotherapy. We have to take some risks. I need to get involved, so I blindly interject. You believe that? Diana engages me like a fighter pilot. I think we walk a treacherous path. A dream path? She stares hard at me, trying to figure out whether I'm being sarcastic or not. A path between Play-Doh and placebo. I smile politely at her. You take this all pretty seriously. It's just college. Lars frowns because he knows I'm putting my foot in it. Diana chuckles like a babysitter. I'm saying everything is fake, but that doesn't make it less real. Blake groans, you can't trick people into sanity. Diana is deadly serious. I'm telling you, we can provide a medically induced spiritual epiphany. There is a strained silence. Marty tried to scooch closer to Levine, and the chair legs on the hardwood floor were like nails on a chalkboard. I take my shot. Was that Professor Loner's idea? The smug smile dies from Jung's face. Rapid glances are exchanged around the table. Only Tseng makes an amused smile. Diana paused while her coffee cup was refilled. He was a philosopher. Now she's rapidly sobering up. I goad her a little more. I heard he was working on pharmaceuticals, that he was a genius. If he was so smart, why's he so dead? Oh, now she's goading me. I thought you'd maybe have a theory. You seem to know everything else. I've got plenty of theories. I'd like to hear them. Huh. It was Professor Loner's idea to convert a crack house into a makeshift lab, where he could carry out the kind of work the intelligentsia can't stomach. Practical, grueling, wet, effective. Everything academia is afraid of. Gillis Blake nervously cut in. It was harmless. The property was annexed by the university for a wilderness and recreational school, basically buying it cheap for future expansion. But, the local economy tanked a few years back. The house was out there in a cold blood kind of way, said Jung as if telling a campfire ghost story. It was a last resort during renewal projects. That's how the dream house was adopted by Dr. Voynich. The dream house? I asked like an awestruck undergrad. Forget what you heard. Glossed Diana as she adjusted the thick rims of her black glasses. It was just kids having fun, drinking, socializing, and expanding their minds with the pretense of scientific purity. It was a private little party where the middle-class suburbanite students could feel like they were rebels on the edge of a revolution, and get a rush when the occasional townie came to flirt with the nerdy girls and fight the college boys and all end up eating candy out of Dr. Voynich's hand. About 2 years later, said Blake, as would have been obvious to anyone looking back, Professor Loner lost control. He moved on to more legitimate research while Voynich withdrew more and more. Diana smirked. To play Pied Piper in his own private Neverland. And why didn't anybody do anything about it? It's left to us to wonder. I had to ask the obvious question. Who is this Voynich? Diana Jung stood from the table. No, I'm not talking to you anymore. She turns on Hobbs, who is looking down Devon's low-cut shirt. You idiot. You brought a blogger in here. Just tell me about Loner, I said quickly. Or are you scared? He was a genius, sure. He was also out of his mind. I stand in Diana's path toward the stairs. She's not used to interacting with someone she can't intimidate. Out of his mind about what? About evil. He thought he discovered the root of evil. Diana beckoned to Lars. Come on. She gives a daring stare around the table. Don't talk to this imposter if you want to stay in the program. I let her glide past, but I call after her in the silenced room. I'm his sister. Diana whipped back with a burning flush, and I thought she was about to throw hands. Bullshit! Roman's sister is paralyzed. You're disgusting. Diana and Lars stomped down the stairs. One by one, Blake and Tseng left their chairs. When Devin Levine got up to follow them, Marty realized something was going on. He stares at me, puzzled. You're paralyzed?
Hello, listener. I just wanted to say thank you for your support. If you enjoy this content or have suggestions on how to improve on it, please leave a like or comment. Consider subscribing so you never miss an episode. Thank you.